Yeah, so that's me and my transformation. That's me on the left living what I thought was the definition of success. In those days, my view was work hard, work harder, and party even harder. And that's how I wound up. I'm going to share a little bit about that story and my journey, and then the kind of tipping point for me that had me have this transformation. And it's a tipping point that I don't wish upon others, but it was
Mm.
a great eye opener for me. So I'm really we exist to really empower others on this journey. But that said, it would be good to just for the benefit of anyone listening in, or in Wahida's case, you joined after I was just in conversation with Bezant. Just to create context, I'm Ronnie, and I'm running this. I'm right now based in Kitwe in Zambia, and Bezant and Yendi are former schoolmates of mine that we've reconnected with a few years later after the world of WhatsApp and social media. And I have invited a group of my old schoolmates to join today's session. There's a few more have registered, but they haven't yet shown up. So if they do miss today, they can join on Saturday. There's another option on Saturday at 12 Zambian time or 11 a.m. UK time. But it would be good to get a sense of who else we have in the room and where are you joining us from. So uh, Razan, would you like to go next?
Yeah, sure. So I'm joining from Cape Town. I recently moved to Cape Town. In fact, exactly 4 months ago. I was previously in Johannesburg for the last decade or so. I'm Zambian originally, obviously from Zambia. I guess that's obvious to Yandeka and Ronnie.
Yeah.
And yeah, so I guess I'm at the point where I guess when you reach 40, this midlife, health does become a concern. I have a young family with my wife, 2 young girls, and yeah, so I think your health becomes important because you also realize that you're living for other people other than yourself.
Correct.
I think when you're younger, you can be a bit reckless. You think what's at stake might not be so great. So at a personal level, the last couple of years, I've been going through my own efforts of transformation, mainly through running. Believe it or not, 2-3 weeks ago, I did my first full marathon.
Oh,
but
amazing.
I'm still not where
wow.
I would like to be in terms of, I think, my BMI. So I'm really trying to explore if there's something else that can be done.
Amazing.
Within reason. Yeah.
Okay,
that's
got it.
my story.
Got it. Okay, Yendi, would you like to? And welcome,
Yes,
Bezan.
hi
Love to
everybody. Yeah, my name is Yendeka. Yes, well, I'm over 40, and I think I've just, like Bazan said, like you realize that you're not just living for yourself, but there's family around, and for you to just be there for them, you need to be, healthy. But if you're not, it's very difficult to be there for other people. And the last few years, couple of years, I must say, my BMI has been on the high side, which is not good for my height. I mean, I'm 156 centimeters and I'm weighing 85. And I've really struggled to just get into a routine that sort of like, let me say I've hit a plateau. I'm not gaining or losing any weight, just no matter what I do. The last thing I was trying to do was the intermittent fasting, and I'm not sure how. Let me just say, basically all the diet, the exercise programs I've tried, I get to a point where I just reach a plateau and you sort of like give it up. But I would like something which is like a lifestyle, something I can do, which just becomes a part of me. I don't have to really, so that's why I'm here.
Got it. Awesome. Yendi, welcome. Lovely to have you here. And Yendi is somebody who, in my view, I'm hoping you'll be Ministry of Mines or Ministry of Finance at some point in time while I'm holding another office elsewhere. So lovely to have you join.
Yeah, in the next life. Maybe when Kalendo is president.
We're going to make it happen. But lovely, thanks for joining us. And then Wahida, I'm not sure if you are in a position where you still can't speak. If you can, and if you can unmute, feel free to. But otherwise, I've just seen your message, so I'm going to just acknowledge that for everyone. You can see she's saying she's got kids in the background. She's based in London and finding it hard to lose weight. It's going up, age is against me, so would like to be healthier. Okay, got it. Thanks for being here, Wahida. Whenever it quietens at home and you can come on camera, feel free to come on. And Zanti, welcome. We have just started, and everyone's just kind of introducing where they're joining from. Did she drop? Okay, I think she might rejoin. Okay, excellent. So Zanti is on, who's somebody who is from one of the cafes here in Kitwe, and she's interested in taking this on. Okay, I'll wait for her to join in, and we will crack on nonetheless in case she's having some connection issues. That said, what we're going to look at today, guys, is what we call the science of transformative health. And it's specifically what is incorporated into the FITBANKER Challenge. And something that both Bezant and Yendeka said was around you've got to a point where you realize that it's more than you that actually depend on you showing up. And that's the word FITBANKER, where people bank on their fitness because others bank on them too. So this is about really banking on your fitness. That's where the term FITBANKER comes from. And today's masterclass, we're going to look at what we call the pursuit of optimal health. Now, a big part of that and a big part of our coaching, the nature of our coaching and our program, is that we all create at the start what's called a very powerful why, or what we call your greater why. And if your why is clear, then the how is easy. Then the coaching that we offer and the actions that we invite you to take on and the habits we form with you really now make sense because context is there. And you've already kind of slightly alluded to saying some of the things that are important to you, which are like family, as an example. So we're going to do a little bit of clarity. The way the mind works is part of the mind, one half of the mind is analytical, and the other mind is visual and creative. And so the way we are often pulled into action is we can visualize that thing that we're stepping into. This is why there's power in things like vision boards. And in the world of accounting and finance and corporates, we create goals, we create milestones, we create whatever we think that project we're investing in or about to roll out, entails, what that looks like. And so this is really important, why having a clear why is important. And so we're going to do, a little bit of work around getting clear for ourselves, what is our why? Like, why does that matter? But that said, I just want to acknowledge Chairman Chisebwe, who's just joined. So Chisebwe, welcome. We've just gone through an intro and everyone's just shared who's joining, where they're joining from. And if you don't mind just doing the same for the benefit of other people.
Yes, thank you. This is I'm joining from Lusaka.
Okay.
Great to be part of this masterclass.
Awesome. Thank you so much for joining. We're just kicking off context, and I was sharing one of the methods of our coaching is, firstly, we need to distinguish what's called a very powerful why. And so any transformation journey, anything that we want to alter the state of, whether it is a project build that we're doing, whether we're building a mall, whether we're investing in a company, whether we're changing the face of and view of a nation, we need to have this clear visual of what we look like that future beholds. And that's also important for us in the area of health and our own body, mind, and intellect transformation. And so we're going to do a little bit of visualization. I'm going to share with you a story that I went through and that got me present to what an empowering why was. So I want to invite you guys, as you're on now, and hoping none of you are driving while we're doing this, but if you can be present and sat in front of your screen, and if you can close your eyes for a second, we're going to work on creating something that really we want to distinguish is a reason or a future that we see if we live into what we call, or what I stand for, is coaching people to discover and live with their unlimited potential. And so I'm going to explain what I mean by that. So when I was 33, I was in London, and and I went through a certain event, and I ended up hospitalized. And I was lying there in the hospital bed, and I remember thinking to myself, looking at the nurse coming in to check in on me. I'm lying there. My wife is sat there, concerned about me and concerned if I'll be okay and if I'll come out of hospital. And I remember thinking to myself, what on earth am I doing here at such a young age? I'm 33, and this reminds me of the life I've seen my dad go through, where he's grown up on medication and pills for cholesterol, for high BP. I've never met my grandfather because he passed away of diabetes. And I thought I'm now headed on the same trajectory, and I'm only 33. And I paused for a second, and I thought, what would I rather be doing if I wasn't in hospital and if I had peak health? And so I want to visualize, each of you to visualize yourselves doing something you love, where you're completely in the zone. Or it might be doing something that you've never done, but you would love to do. You aspire to get into that. It might be something you've never done, an activity you've never done, but you're loving what you're doing. But there's something different about you in this visual that you see of yourself. You have a lot more energy, you have a lot more strength, and you have a whole and complete level of self-love, self-belief, and self-confidence in what you're doing. If you could see yourself doing that, what is it you would be doing? And when I asked myself that question, what I saw was, I was 33 at the time, and I thought in 16, 17 years' time, I want to be climbing up Mount Kilimanjaro at the age of 50 with 2 of my kids. And I pictured me running up there holding 2 boys' hands going up this mountain. And we didn't have any kids. I wasn't a parent, and we weren't even expecting at the time. Fast forward 12 months from there, the first time I did Mount Kilimanjaro. Fast forward to now, and I've been up Mount Kilimanjaro 7 times. I've summited 6, but the 7th time was taking my 3-year-old boy to 4,000 meters. And he's the youngest 3-year-old to reach 4,000 meters. But that's an example of what's possible once we take on ourselves. We begin to discover that we can go to a realm even beyond what we could have imagined possible. So that said, I'd love to hear, if you guys open your eyes and get back in the session, I'd love to hear from you anything you want to share. What was it you saw? So who would you be being, or what would you be doing if you had that peak energy, peak strength, and that peak level of self-belief and self-confidence? Anyone like to share? If you want to come off mute and please share, what was it you saw? Let us into a little bit of your vision. Or if you want to type it in the chat. Wahida says, trekking mountains in Wales. We do that every year. We do that 2 or 3 times a year. So definitely something that you can join us on. Anyone else like to share? Bezant?
Yeah, I guess I visualized as you were talking about your experience, and I was just thinking that probably if you visualize where you want to be, it might be even be applicable even outside of wellness and health, but maybe even just where one might want to be professionally.
Yeah.
And then health becomes important. So I thought about you saying lying in the hospital at 33 and the experience that you went through, and I could relate, because I think I was visualizing where I would not want to be.
Yeah.
I lost my father about 5 years ago. It had to be diabetes and cholesterol. So I'm almost like visualizing that that's not where I want to be come 20, 30 years from now.
Got it.
So it's more of what I don't want is what comes to mind for me.
Got it.
What I don't want for myself.
Got it. Interesting. And Wahida is also sharing running with the kids. Yeah, Yendi, just acknowledging your message. Yendi has to attend to something. They've had a funeral in the family. Okay, brilliant. Anyone else want to share? As a reminder, guys, you need to unmute yourself if you want to share. Welcome, Lynette. Just acknowledging you in the house. Welcome. We just did a little bit of visualization work just for Lynette and Zanti's benefit. And in there, we're asking for people to see what is that vision or visual if they could live with that unlimited potential, peak energy, peak strength, and confidence. And for me, it was going up a mountain with my kids. And when I saw that, and I was in a hospital bed and I had that I asked myself that question, that was what I would rather be doing. And so we've just heard from some people on share what they would want to be doing, trekking mountains in Wales, running with the kids. In Bezant's case, is definitely living a life where he's progressing in his career and not in hospital, and which is how he lost his dad. So anyone that wants to share or join, please feel free. This is your session. Feel free to come on camera. But what I want to share with all of you is that the way we are right now, the current physique that we have, the current body, the mind, and the lifestyle that we have is completely a function of what I call our IBS, our internal belief system. And our internal belief system is made up of three smaller I's, which is the inspiration that we possess, which is just an example, is what we did in this little visualization, which is what inspires you to go and do what you do. Each of us are working in some company or starting a business or pursuing a particular career because we believe it is going to fulfill on some goal, like it will serve our families, it will take care of the next generation, or whatever it might be. Bezant says running marathons with Chisebwe. Yeah, indeed, brilliant. So Chisebwe, you better be ready for that. That's our inspiration. Second is what drives us and has us operate the way we are from the time we wake up to the time we sleep to the jobs we do, is that we're driven by a set of information. We have information called, hey, I've got to own my own business, or I've got to be loyal and committed to my job, or I've got to study hard and make sure I maintain that particular career to keep progressing to the next level. And that's the way I was in banking. The information I possessed was to make it in banking, I got to work hard and party harder. But, work comes first. And to make it, I've got to go daily to that building and work my butt off. And that's the third point, which is implementation. When I was vice president at JP Morgan, the implementation structure was I have a job, I have a contract, I have to walk into that building in the early hours, and I walk out often always when it was dark. I worked very late hours, and it wouldn't be unsurprising that I'm often in there on weekends or working from home. And that was the implementation structure that kept me in that lifestyle. And what we're doing in the FITBANKER Challenge is we provide you with a third eye, which is we can work with you to recreate and redefine your inspiration, which we just did here in a 2-minute exercise. We will provide you with the new wisdom, the knowledge and information around nutrition, around exercise, around sleep, around what's called the mind-body connection or mindset, and around relationships. But ultimately, all that is junk if it's not implemented. And so we want to provide you with implementation. Lynette says, wanting to fit in a nice dress without worrying about my tummy and just to be healthy. Amazing, Lynette. Thank you so much for sharing that. We're going to share some results, guys. You're going to see of what's possible. Or if I invited you on WhatsApp, some of you would have already seen them. So to create something new, we need to alter our understanding, which only shifts when we work on our internal belief system. And we're talking at a science level, we're talking about what we know at a conscious level, and there's what's existing for us at a subconscious level. The things that we've been influenced by, what we see around, what we experience, what we were raised by, so on and so forth. But that said, I want to share with you, of course, very quickly, for those of you that aren't familiar with my story, my journey from being a fat banker to FITBANKER the business. That's me in 2014. I'm close to 108 kg. I'm standing next to a guy called Ashish Thakkar, who's called Africa's youngest billionaire, or he was at some point. That's in JP Morgan. That's when I was with JP Morgan as vice president. Fast forward a few months in 2015. This is about 7 months after my work on myself. And there I am, 70 pounds lighter, and I have a six-pack. And the life of my life as a banker was work hard and party harder. That was my internal belief system. So I made sure I worked, I prioritized that, and then I made sure I would go out for the evening meals and dinners and conferences and events and parties, and I would eat loads and I would drink loads. And the way I wound up was this guy that you see on screen. That's me at 33, at 34. And what's going on for this guy that you don't see on the surface is internally in his mindset is some form of resignation, which is I can put on a smile externally, I can show up at events, and I can splash cash to gain attention or to buy myself some form of joy, but it was very short-lived. And internally was a guy that was resigned that no matter what I try, it just isn't working. And my health isn't shifting, and this belly is just getting bigger, and my waistline is getting bigger, and my thighs are getting bigger, and it wasn't serving me. And internally, I was resigned that no matter what I try, it can't transform. In fact, I believed it was my dad's fault. I thought it was down to my genes. I was like, Dad, you're overweight. All your siblings are overweight. It's definitely genetic. This has got nothing to do with me, and it's all your fault. However, what I did is I formed a subconscious defense mechanism, which is I will still show the world. I will be in denial that this is going on, and I will show people I can go out and party. I can still do adventure. This is 1 year after being hospitalized. There I am on Mount Kilimanjaro. I'm still 100 kg. So those of you thinking of joining me on Kili, it is hard, but it's still doable. Even when I was 100 kg, I was able to do that. Especially those of you that run marathons, Kili will be a piece of cake. And there's me doing the Daniel Craig pose coming out of a beach in New Zealand. And I intentionally say doing the Daniel Craig pose because I would use self-deprecating humor to make fun of myself. And some of us do that. We joke about ourselves, we joke about our physique, we joke about how much we eat or drink, because it gives us an excuse, or it gives us a defense, a subconscious defense mechanism to not allow another person to talk to us about our eating habits, our drinking habits, or our physique, or our body, or our health. And the human mind does that. We form a way to let people not talk to me about this, and we use some form of saying, despite all this, I can still go and party, I can still do adventure, so it's not yet a problem for me. But internally, I was clueless, I was helpless, and I didn't know how to shift that. And living that life of denial and also of success, as per my old definition, shortly after we got married, my wife and I had gone to Edinburgh for what's called the Fringe Festival. And for those of you that aren't familiar with it, what it is, it's where the world comes together, and there is comedians, there's circuses, there are performances, there's drama, there's theater, there's art across the whole town. It's the world's largest open air festival, and it happens for the full month of August. And you go then, people go there to experience joy, to experience happiness, to have a good time, to laugh. And we were married 9 months, and we were also 3 months pregnant. And it was my wife's birthday. So we went to celebrate all three, and we were going up to Edinburgh, and we thought perfect place for us to, at the 3-month mark, to take a photo with the castles in Edinburgh as a backdrop and post it on social media and let the world know we're going to be parents. But while that beautiful, bright future looked amazing, and while we were there, and before we could be celebrating, everything turned 180 degrees, and we had a miscarriage. And we lost our little one, and it was a crushing moment. For me, it was a crushing moment for my wife, Ambika, and we both haven't experienced this, and we both didn't know how to deal with it. And so what transpired is we're in breakdown. She's breaking down. I'm trying to console her. I don't know how to process loss of a baby myself. And that tension led to us having further argument and further stress in the conversation and our relationship. And it led to me that night having these random heart palpitations. They carried on through the night. They carried on the next day. And before I knew it, the next day on the way back, as soon as we entered London, I ended up hospitalized. And here I am in hospital at what's called Chelsea and Westminster Hospital in London. And we're living around the corner from there. And I'm 33 and I'm lying in this bed. And that's when I asked myself, like, why on earth am I here? I shouldn't be here. I'd rather be doing something else. And while we lost our little one, it was the birth of that interest and that yearning to say, you know what, I've got to go to town to figure out how on earth to own my health. It can't be rocket science to know how to lose fat. It can't be rocket science to know how to increase muscle mass. It can't be rocket science to reverse our metabolic age. I'm now 41, but there's a scale we have that tells you your metabolic age, and on that I'm 26. And I feel like a 26-year-old, and I have the physique of a 26-year-old, and I'm much stronger, fitter, and energetic than a 26-year-old. But lying in the hospital bed, I got very clear for myself, this isn't the definition of success. You know, I might have this beautiful 6-figure salary, X amount of savings in the bank, a title called vice president, I'm living in London, all looks and sounds great, but it means nothing if this is how I wind up. And then my wife and my kids that I haven't yet got, you know, could possibly be growing up without a dad and without the main breadwinner. And that was the case for me and our family situation at that point in time. And so it planted in me that desire to say, I've got to figure this out. And I started training. I lost 20 kg, and I started to eat right. Now, most of us, we just will focus on the exercise and we forget the eating. And when some of us focus on the exercise and we do the nutrition right, we miss 3 other pillars, which is sleep, mind-body connection, and relationships, all three of which have an impact on our mental and emotional well-being, which have an impact on our stress and strain and stress factors, which has an impact on our biology, which translates into our physiology. And we go through the depth and the science of this in our program. My wife has got a doctorate as well. She runs part of the program, but this program was primarily designed out of my own personal journey and experience. And so when I was 87 kg, I threw myself into this body transformation competition. Remember, I've lost already 20 kg. I was 108 at my peak. And within 90 days, that was what I wound up, 11.3% body fat. I got to my peak. I won this challenge. I went actually beyond that. I got to my peak at 5.9% body fat. Now, all of you, a few of you at the start mentioned, this is my height and this is my BMI. Now, BMI and height and weight are such poor measures of how we're doing. In fact, they're so archaic. They were popularized in World War II because when World War II was going on, we had to find a very quick way to get people in the army. So without being able to see them in person, you'd send a telegram and say, what's his height, what's his weight? And if they're within this calculation and ratio called BMI, which is your weight over height squared, and if you are between 18.5 and 25, then you get to join the army. That's where it was popularized. But it is so historic. Today we have these machines, and we can buy them here in Zambia as well, where you stand on the scale and sends a small current through you, and it tells you what percentage of you is muscle, what percentage is fat, and how much is bone. And then we know how much fat we have, so we know how much fat we need to lose. But then most of us are just judging on our weight. So I could stay 87 kg but have more muscle mass and have a chiseled physique and low fat percentage. So we can do that with our body if you understand what you're made of. So that's a big part or a unique part of our program. And the tools and everything is available and accessible to us. And since that transformation, people ask me, Ronnie, what did you do? How did you eat? How did you train? And it led to the birth of FITBANKER, which is FITBANKER, the business. But we, as defined earlier, before some of you joined, we said FITBANKER really means to empower people to bank on their fitness because they know that others bank on their fitness too. So whether you're a mom, whether you're a dad, whether you're a business owner, whether you're an employee, whether you're a CEO of a company, there are people that bank on you showing up. And whether you take care of your parents, whether you're somebody that goes and buys milk from the milkman around the corner, they all depend on you in some shape or form. That's how we work in societal structures. And so we really exist to empower people to bank on their fitness. So I'm going to share some results of what's possible and what's been possible by some prior participants. And as you look at these pictures, of course, be inspired by them, but I want you to see yourself. Like if you caused that loss, that weight loss, or that peak energy, what's possible after? What's possible after your after photo? What would you go on to do? Would it be a marathon? Would it be a triathlon? Would it be climb a mountain? Would it be a long life with your kids? Would it be your business empire growing because you have the mental and physical energy to grow that empire? Whatever that might be, I want you to think about that. If that's very clear for you, you have a good pull factor to work towards it. So when we launched in 2015, this was a doctor that signed up. She's a general practitioner. She's a GP. And I'm like, hang on, why are you signing up to my program? Because when I'm unwell, we come to you. And she goes like, we're so busy doing what we do as a doctor and we know the science, but we actually never learned about nutrition. They spend about a day out of 7 years learning nutrition. And the only other nutrition that doctors get taught is preparation for surgery. And so she did the program and she lost 9.1 kilos in 90 days. That's about 20 pounds in 90 days. This is Ellie, somebody who's an Italian client, signs onto the program and she loses 11.3. And she said she wanted to become an actress after that. She went on to lose 20 kg. She got into theater and acting school. And now she's a screenplay writer for theater in London. Then these are guys also from the US. The guy on the left, by the way, since we have some people from Impelembe, is an ex-Impelembe alumni. He's about 6-7 years ahead of us. He's a urologist in Florida. His name is Dr. Sijo Parakatil. And he came to London for a TED Talk with his partner there, who was doing the TED Talk, his business partner. And they heard about us. They came to meet us. I've never met them before. I only found out later. He's from Zambia. And they both did our program. The guy on the left lost 53 pounds. The guy on the right lost 36 pounds. And they stand for health. They are doctors. And why not look and fit in the job for what you stand for? This is a lady who's related to herself all her life as overweight. She's been short and overweight, and she was 113 kg. She signed up to a program. She was the female record holder then. She lost 15.8 kg. She then went to lose a further 5 kg in preparation she after that signed up to Kilimanjaro with us. Signed up to Kilimanjaro. It was a very hard thing for her to do in 2017. Our first leadership summit. We run a leadership retreat on Mount Kilimanjaro every year. And then she lost 20 kg and she was able to get to the top of Mount Kilimanjaro. Today, she is 34 kg lighter than her first challenge. She was 113. Today she is, I think she said 79 is her current weight. So that's an example of what's possible when you take on transforming your health. This is somebody who reached out to say, hey, I'm already fit, I'm already active, I'm already healthy. But I heard, Ronnie, somebody told me about your program that you guys coach on mindset. I'm interested in the mindset stuff. I said, well, are you healthy? Let's explore what you do. She goes, yes, I am, because I'm vegan. I said, you can be vegan, but that doesn't necessarily mean you're healthy, because I've been vegetarian all my life and I was overweight. So that doesn't necessarily mean that I am I'm healthy. And so I said, let's look at it. And of course, when you're vegan, she could eat potato crisps, she could have sugar, she could have a whole bunch of stuff that, while it's vegan, isn't necessarily healthy. Anyway, she does our program. She loses 12.6 kg in weight and she loses 12% body fat. So that, just to give you a context of, sometimes our perception of what the definition of healthy is may not actually be healthy. And sometimes our perception of what we need to do or what we think it takes may not necessarily be it. And so she went on to transform her health. She then became actually a FITBANKER coach. She runs some of our online HIT classes. We currently run online on Zoom, started at the beginning of lockdown last year, free online classes open to anyone, anywhere in the world. And any of you that want to join that WhatsApp group for the workouts, you're free and welcome to join that. Connect with me on any social media platform, or if we're already connected on WhatsApp, message me and I can add you to what's called the FITBANKER Workouts group. But she's one of our trainers there now, and that's not something she saw possible. This is somebody else who's actually head coach on a program. She tried other programs before. She lost a little bit of weight. She felt isolated and she felt on her own, trying to figure it out on her own. Now she feels part of a community. Something that people rave about FITBANK is the community. You will connect with people globally. You'll form a global network. And there are many people that have gone on to stay in touch with their community. You stay part of an online Facebook group. And it's a great way to have a global network and really get a sense of life elsewhere, sharing your world and what you're up to, and maybe form some contacts and networks for other intents and purposes. So yeah, Waida, got it. So Waida, I'll need you to somehow send me your WhatsApp number and I'll get you added to that. Then this is Anoli, somebody who, I know there's some mums here who are saying that they're struggling to lose their baby weight. She had a second born and she was 75 kg. And she says, Ronnie, I've been struggling to lose my baby weight. Her babies were growing older. They weren't babies anymore. She signed up to our program actually in like September 2019. She was hesitant to start. Some delays came on. Anyway, she started finally in January at 71.4 kg. And today she's about 50 or 49 kg actually. She's a FITBANKER coach. She's 25 kilos lighter than when she signed up to the program. And she's again another inspiration example of what's possible when you take on your health transformation. That said, then there's this guy this old man who I call Dad. This is my dad. He came to London in 2015. He's 92, 93 kg. He has high cholesterol. He has high BP. He lost his father to diabetes. He has eczema and psoriasis all across his back. And from as far back as we can remember, from when we were teenagers at Implembe, Dad has been on medication. We don't know when he started. Even he can't remember when he started, but he was taking 22 pills a day. And on Christmas, we would get him a nice pill box set. That's the kind of gift we would give him. So, hey, Dad, you need to upgrade your pill box. And this one has colors and labels and Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday labels, so you can put your different pills. He is now 30 kg lighter. He is off. He's 5 years off medication. He did this program first in 2015. In 2016, the doctors asked him to get off medication because they said now the pills that were reducing his blood pressure were working against him naturally healing his heart. And so he is 5 years free of medication, no cholesterol statins, no high BP medication, no daily aspirin, no 22 pills a day. He is 30 kg lighter. He walks easily 7 kilometers, 8 kilometers a day. He does 15-kilometer treks with us, and this year he's training for Mount Kilimanjaro at the age of 76. And this man has not been an athlete. This man never walked more than 2 to 3 kilometers in his life. Walking was not a thing you did. Driving around is what you did. So that's a classic example of what's possible when you take on your health at any age or stage in life. And now he's grateful he's doing that. He's got much better posture, and he's got much better mental and emotional health because he's taken on his physical health. And then, like I say, what's possible after? This is me. Any of you guys that know me from Mpelembe, I was not an athletic person. I was not selected on any team. I never participated in any sport. I never did cross country. I would walk out of that gate at Mpelembe when it was cross country, and I would go sit in the bus stop with Mark Lungu, and we would wait for everyone to come back, and we would enter back in through that gate. I never, ever ran or did 10 kilometers in my life at that point in my life. And now we go every year up Mount Kilimanjaro. Like I say, I've been there 7 times. During lockdown, during the pandemic, we've gone twice last year. I'm going again this year. We're running a New Year's Day summit. We arrive on Christmas Day there. We celebrate Christmas at base, and we summit on New Year's Day. And that's what we did this year. That's me on my 6th summit on New Year's Day, 1st January 2021. And on the left there is my 3-year-old boy, who's now just turned 4, and he's the youngest 3-year-old to reach 4,000 meters. It got shared on a number of these websites and social media pages, and it was a great moment for me. But this is something I would have never imagined, and I'm doing that at the age of 41. So I was 40, sorry, at the time. So that's an example of what's possible. Now, I've shared some results of what's possible, and I want you all to consider that you guys can all have your version of possible. And please feel free to come on, guys, on camera if you have any questions. There's also a button there under reactions called raise hand. If you have a question to ask, just raise that so I see you. But this is your session, guys. This is your informal catch-up. I have here about 3 or 4 old schoolmates, and a couple of you, Zanthi and Salma, welcome. We're going to share now a bit about the science that makes this work. So a bit about the science is, as I share over the next few slides, for you to really get stuff out of today's session, I'm going to ask you to empty your cup so that it may be filled with something new. And what do I mean by that? A big part of our learning and my development is I've trained as what's called a transformational leadership coach. And so there is a methodology and a psychological approach for us to alter behavior for other human beings. And one part of that is we need to give up, or we need to work with participants to give up everything that they know that they believe to be true in their mind. We want to get that out of their mind so that they can re-question, re-educate, and relearn something, especially as an adult learner. Most of us stay the same because we hold on to old, past-based limiting beliefs. So some of what I'm going to share over the next few slides, please do listen to it with an open mind. And one thing we need to give up and get out of our heads or empty our cup is any old beliefs we have around exercise, around nutrition, or even about yourself. Some of you have a view about yourself, which is no matter what happens, I just stay the same. Or I can't run because I've got flat feet, or whatever story you tell yourself. So here are some of the limiting beliefs, and those limiting beliefs and those stories we tell ourselves are often why we stay the same, or why we go through yo-yo diets. You try something for a bit, it works for a few days or 2 weeks or 3 weeks, something happens, there's a funeral, you have to travel, there's a wedding, there's a holiday, and it goes off rail. And that's why most of the diets are called yo-yo diets. And so we want to look at, and we want to distinguish in the brain, okay, this is what hasn't worked in the past. Isolate the event, but don't let it be a lifetime judgment of you. That's what most of us do, is we convert one failure or 2 failures, whether it's in our career or in our marriage or our finances, and we project that out into the future. That's also applicable for us in the area of health. And so we need to look at what hasn't worked. We need to look at our internal assumptions, what we call mental blockers, and what we call some of our excuses. There's a question from Wahida. Are the programs tailor-made, exercise programs? Yes, they're tailored, and I'm going to talk a bit more about that as we come later on, what's included in the program. So some of us might have tried fad or yo-yo diets. So we say things like, I've tried this diet and that type of diet, and I'm doing intermittent fasting, and I'm doing keto, and it works or it doesn't work. Some people think it's all about exercising more, but exercising more isn't the answer. When I started my journey, as oblivious as I was, I just thought I can work hard, party hard Monday to Friday, and on Saturday, Sunday, I would go for runs in London. And I found I was running 5K, and I was impressed I could get to 5K. Then I started to go for 7K, then 8K, then 10K, then 12K. And I had to keep increasing how much I was running because I wasn't losing the weight. And the only thing it did to me was cause damage. I got shin splints, I damaged my knees because I'm doing the wrong kind of exercise while I'm overweight. And so doing the wrong kind of exercise or exercising more is not the answer. It could cause injury and could cause damage for you. Some of us might have a view or a belief called, I have to just eat less or starve. So we form irregular meal schedules. We skip meals when we shouldn't. We suppress our portion size, and we feel this is not emotionally and mentally enjoyable. So that's also not what we do. Some people think that it's about some kind of fat burning pills. There is no such thing as a fat burning pill is the reality, because if there was any such thing out there where you consume it and it burns some of your cells inside, it's also known as poison or acid. There is no really something there. It is marketing that have us believe there is some sort of thing called fat burning pills, but none of them are actually doing that. They can't cause damage to your internal biology or your physiology. But there are some pills that support boosting your metabolism or suppress appetite. And there are some of those that you can or cannot take, or there are areas where it will or will not work on our program. And then some of us say, look, I've been trying what others have tried, or I'm doing what our ancestors did. Ronnie, you can't be telling me something new. I'm 40 something or 50 something. Why on earth are you telling me this now? I'm doing keto, I'm doing paleo, what the cavemen and the bushmen did. Well, the cavemen and the bushmen don't drive around in a Pajero, and they don't sit at the desk and have desk-based jobs. Those cavemen were hunters and gatherers. So you can't compare your diet to what they had. Some people say this is our staple diet. But even in Zambia, where I am, 35 years ago, the amount of we walked and got on a bus, or we bike rode, or we did some activity or exercise is very different to today. We're sat at desks, we're driving, we don't even cook all our meals, we order or we have a maid that's cooking for us. So amount of physical expenditure has plummeted, and our amount of calorie consumption has more than tripled in our own lifetime. And we need to now start account for that, otherwise the body is showing you where the residue is going. Or it might be a view called the doctors or medication will fix it. My view was I don't need to take care of my health. If anything happens to me, I've got the NHS in the UK, and I've got amazing insurance with JP Morgan. I can go to private healthcare. So if anything happens, they will take care of me. And so that was a complete resigned view. So that said, what actually does work? Well, the first thing is often we're looking for a pill or a medication or a solution out there to come and fix us. But the first thing we need to do is what's already going inside of us that we need to discontinue. All disease in the body begins with inflammation. If any of you are connected to any medical profession, they'll tell you that the first demonstration of something going wrong in your body is some form of inflammation. Whether it's physical injury, there'll be inflamed swelling. Whether you've eaten a food that disagrees with you, there will be inflammation. We'll experience it as a headache or body aches or sores. Whether you've been attacked by a virus, the first form is inflammation, and the body releases mucus as a response, as an inflammatory response to what's going on internally. But inflammation is also caused in our body, and we've never been told this, by foods. There are foods that are inflammatory in nature. And so most of my old diet looked like what's on this image. I would wake up and I would have a bowl of cereal. I would have Frosties. On top of that, I'd add milk, and then I would add more sugar to it because the Frosties weren't sweet enough. Then at 10 or 11 a.m., I would have the snack bar called 11s because it said 11 a.m. and I would have that bar at 10 or 11 a.m. Then lunchtime would come and I would have a baguette, I would have a sandwich, I would have something in the canteen while at JP Morgan. And I would sit at my desk while working away, eating my meal and piling on the weight. Around 3 or 4 or 5 p.m., I'm feeling a bit peckish and I would have some biscuits, or I'd have a Kit Kat chocolate because it said take a break. And at 7 or 8 p.m. or 9 p.m. or 10 p.m. or 11 p.m., depending on that work day, I would have my dinner. It would often be pasta, it would often be pizza, it would often be something high, starchy and carby. And I'm having 1,200 calories at night and then I'm going to sleep. That food doesn't disappear just because it's past my mouth. It's still in me. It's being broken down as I sleep, and somewhere my body's trying to release that energy. Now, the problem with these kinds of foods, that they all have in common what's called high glycemic index carbs, which means certain part of carbohydrates that create a big blood sugar spike in our body, which then creates an insulin spike. And an insulin spike creates with a sugar rise and an insulin rise, creates a state of inflammation in our body. And also most of these foods make our bodies what's called acidic in nature. Our bodies have what's called a pH level, like water. Water is at 7, and it's either acidic or it's slightly alkaline. And research has demonstrated that a slightly alkaline body is good for peak energy, and guess what? It's also good for fat loss, because an acidic body is really good at holding onto fat cells. Fat cells exist in the presence of an acidic environment. And so most of our bodies always being slightly acidic means we're creating an environment for what you might have heard or used the term called, I have stubborn fat. There's nothing called stubborn fat. I mean, your fat doesn't have a mindset of its own. It doesn't have a behavior, but it's stubborn because we have an acidic environment that is holding on to it. So the first thing we want to do is to break down that environment by alkalizing our body. And so something we recommend on our program first is we reduce the insulin spikes. We have what's called more complex carbs. We have more good fats, and we have more high protein in our diet and high fiber. That reduces the blood sugar spikes, and if the blood sugar does not go over a certain level, we therefore won't have an insulin release. And if you don't have an insulin release, you won't trigger inflammation in your body. So the first thing we do in the FitBanker Challenge is we give you a list of 6 categories of food or drink to remove from your diet. Once you've removed that from your diet, and don't worry, you'll have so many options, even like in the images there, that you can consume, and I'll show you a sample meal plan of what that looks like. You first of all do away with the inflammation, and you do away with the acidity. Now, where did this all go wrong? How did we wind up as a species, as human beings, consuming these foods? Well, this is the government guideline. This is the government guideline from the UK website, and the UK website influenced most of the Commonwealth countries and a lot of the world. And today, a lot of the UK is influenced by a lot of what's going on in the US. And a lot of what influences the US is the pharmaceutical companies and the lobby groups and the food manufacturing industries. And they get the government, they fund the government's research to put one piece of information out there. And that one piece of information that goes out there is, with all intents and purposes, to simplify the message. We're trying to tell people this is what a balanced meal should look like. You should have some carbs, you should have some mixed veg and fruit, you should have meat, poultry, and pulses, you should have dairy, you can have some cheeky snacks on the bottom left corner there, you should have 6 to 8 glasses of water. And the only distinction this brings is that females should have 2,000 calories and men should have 2,500 calories. Now, why would all of us be given the same information? If you're excessively overweight and obese, why would you be given the same information as somebody that is anorexic, has an eating disorder, has bulimia, and is struggling to put on weight? Why would somebody that has a chronic illness be given the same advice as somebody that is very physically active and goes to the gym? It doesn't work to give everybody the same information, because we, the masses, the public, will interpret this as, okay, this is what my government approves and endorses, it's rubber stamped, I'll be consuming what they say is normal. But we're so different, and that's what FitBanker is about. FitBanker's model of transformative health is saying you need to understand you, that each of you are so unique. So, when you're asking Wahid about tailored plans, it's knowing how to tailor your training based to your goals and your body type. And we do provide you with a template and guidance on how you adjust and tweak the plans we provide you. And I'll explain how they're tailored. So what we look at is we look at your lifestyle. Are you living in a desk-based job? Are you at home? Are you working on a construction site? Based on your level of physical expenditure and your mental and emotional stresses, there is an impact to your physique and your body and your well-being. We look at what's called the science of body types. This is something we were never taught in school. And if you go into pro athleticism, that's when they might explore it. And if you train as a personal trainer, then it's mentioned there in one of the paragraphs. But it's not something that we grow up being taught mainstream in school. Each of us have a different body type called an ectomorph, mesomorph, or an endomorph. And in ancient Eastern science, Ayurveda, which is some of the science I've borrowed and put into our program, is you have a body type called Vata, Pitta, Kapha. And I'm going to look at that in the next couple slides to explain what I discovered about them. And then we teach you about what's called functional eating, which is eat according to the activity you're about to engage into. So when I was coming from banking at 11 p.m. in London, I order a pizza and a pasta, and I put 1,200 calories in me in one meal in my body, and then I go to sleep. Over the next 4 to 6 hours, that food is broken down, and it's put somewhere in storage in my body, because in my sleep, guess what? I'm not spending the energy. I'm stationary, I'm sedentary. So that all goes into storage. Now, functional eating is saying, hey, I'm about to go to sleep. I need to have a light meal instead of a big heavy meal. Or today I'm going for a marathon training run or a trek. I want to have a lot of oats and carbs early in the morning to give me a prolonged supply of energy over that trek. So that's called understanding functional eating. Then, as mentioned, we're different by body composition. So forget weight and BMI. Look at what's inside of you. How much of you is fat percentage and fat molecules? How much of you is muscle? How much of you is bone? If you can really get that and grasp that, then you know how much of it you need to reduce. And we tell you for your age and for your gender, for your height, we give you a chart of what the optimal percentage is to get to. As mentioned, you can get these body composition scales even here in Zambia, in Kitwe and Lusaka. You can get it from Lusaka Pharmacy. And also, I think game stores now have some of them as well. But we give you some recommended links of the ones we recommend, which in the UK you can order from Amazon, and there are multiple places there, John Lewis, that you can get them from. As mentioned, we don't just coach on the physical, we coach on the emotional, the mental, and the spiritual. By spiritual, we don't mean religious or anything of that sort. We mean you getting aligned with your purpose and aligned with your personal nature. We talk about that a bit more in the program. So here's an example of one of the mental blockers I had. That's me and my fiance at the time. That's our engagement drinks. And the life we lived was after work and banking and getting off earliest at about 7 p.m. We would work hard, party harder. And we would eat loads, we would drink loads. And I remember going out and I'm dating this girl, and then I got engaged to her. And then I'm thinking, why am I cursed? Like, we go out and eat the same foods. She probably eats and drinks more than me, but she gets to look the same and stay lean. And I just look at the food, I sniff it, and the next day I've put on half a kilo. And I was so clear life is unfair. And as mentioned, I was blaming my dad. Dad, it's because you're overweight. What I didn't know, at the start of the program, I told you about the 3 I's: inspiration, information, and implementation. The information I didn't know was that there's a 5,000-year-old science from Ayurveda, ancient Eastern philosophy, which says we are different by body type, called Vata, Pitta, and Kapha body type. Or in Western science, they call it ectomorph, mesomorph, and endomorph. They mean the same, but if you understand your body type, that body type comes with a certain metabolism. The metabolism is kind of like the fire in you that breaks down food and how it converts it into either energy or into muscle or into fat. And I never knew that. And if you know your body type, you'll know how to eat according to your body type. But most of us eat on social settings, which is at home, one person's cooking the meal and everyone's eating the same meal. And when you go into a restaurant, you have only 12 to 14 to 20 items on the menu. So you can only choose from that. What if you knew what of those items worked for you and what of those items will slow down your metabolism? Then you can make a more informed choice. And so we teach you on the science of body types. And if you understand the science, the way you consume food going forward will forever change. Accountability. We bring accountability to every gram of what you consume, and therefore every molecule of fat or muscle in your body. And so as a male, we're trying to get you to 45% muscle mass and between 10 and 19% of fat. As a female, you want to get to about 36% muscle mass and between 21 and 33% fat. And anyone that's in Kitwe, if you want to know what your fat percentage is, and if you have my number, contact me. I'll come over with a scale and we'll tell you what percentage you are if you haven't yet bought one scale. So we tell you how to go from how over 1 week, 2 weeks, we can reduce 1% of fat, 2% of fat, 3% of fat, and get you from wherever your starting point is to your goal through doing a certain amount of minimum activity, as little as moving. That's as little as moving that you need to do, and as intense as you want to. It can be runs, it could be walks, it could be a CrossFit workout, whatever that is. Okay, so you want to really get that. Now we use 2 apps. And if you're somebody that's already signed up to the program starting on 26th July, or you're thinking about it, even if you don't join us, if you want to learn a bit about this world, I highly recommend these 2 apps. These are third-party apps. You can download them, called MyFitnessPal and Runkeeper. And what we do is, if you're on the FitBanker Challenge, we ask you to tweak some of what I call the default factory settings. So don't use the app that's designed for an already healthy person to maintain an already healthy weight. We want to go through a transformation. We don't want to stay the same. So go to under settings. You can take a screenshot of this, or if you want the recording after this and you contact me, I'll send you the recording. But you want to go and change your nutrition and macronutrient goals to make sure that of all the calories you're getting in, 30% is coming from protein, 30% is coming from fats, and 40% is coming from carbs. So this is not a carb-free diet, but it's the quality of the carbs that we work on. Secondly, on Run Keepers, where you record your walks. So today I went on a walk. Every day I'm going for a walk. I do between 5 to 7K of walks daily. And just that amount of walking is adequate for me to do or maintain and keep my fat percentage at a certain level. And the moment I'm consuming foods, but I'm sat and watching Netflix and chill, then that's all beginning to pile up. And then I'm like, hang on, why on earth is this belt getting tight? That's because I'm not accountable to what's going in and what's being expended by my body. But I know on any day what's entered my body in terms of calories, proteins, carbs, and fats, and I know how much I've spent that day in terms of activity. And at the start, it might feel like a bit of complex and Ronnie, do I have to do this every day? But after 90 days, it becomes subconsciously second nature. So now I can go days where I didn't record everything, but I know what was permissible and what I didn't need to have in my diet. So if any questions, guys, do take note and ask them. How do you lose a pound of fat? It's very easy to lose a pound of fat, guys. Very easy. All you have to do is create a 3,500 calorie deficit. Now, if you join me for one day on Mount Kilimanjaro, we can do that in a day. But of course, that's not sustainable here in our office and urban city jobs or whatever we do as a living. And so what we do is we break that 3,500 calorie deficit across the week. So all we ask you to do on the program is to create a 500 calorie deficit every day. And you record it on the apps. You're part of a team. You have a coach. You have a weekly call with your coach. The coach checks in. All right, how much deficit did you think? You have a stats sheet. You populate the stats. They look at your stats and they say, hey, hang on, Zanthi, you've not updated your stats for the last 4 days. I can't coach you because I don't know whether you've gone under or over. And so you update that and then they give you feedback and then you tweak, you iterate. You might trip up, you might slip up, you might eat 1 or 3 ice creams too many on that day. And they say, all right, forget about it, clean slate, start again today. And so we keep working with humans and we know we're working with human beings that have volatility, that will have unpredictability, that slip up, that go through stressful periods. And that's why our coaching is beyond the physical. You will have conversations and you'll have webinars that are run on looking at areas of your relationships, looking at areas around your emotional strains, areas around what we call mind-body connection, even things like money. Our concern around money creates a certain mental stress that puts our body into a fight or flight state and releases certain hormones that converts to storage. If we're worried about how we'll pay the next month's rent or the mortgage or business or salaries or all those concerns, they translate into our body. And so this is a screenshot of the app called MyFitnessPal. And what it's showing is this is a person who was meant to consume 1,700 calories. They consumed 1,100. They spent 273 calories in exercise, and therefore they've created an 864 calorie deficit. And so we recommend every day you aim for at least 300 calorie deficit and up to 800. And if you get an average of 500, then we are more likely to be losing and burning fat from our body. We don't recommend you starving yourself. We don't recommend you under eating, but there is a part of a program where we will introduce you to intermittent fasting and how to do it properly and when it works and when it doesn't work and what are some of the hacks around intermittent fasting that you can do. I spoke earlier about an acidic environment is good for fat cells, but if we don't want fat cells, we want to alkalize the body. So these are some sample alkaline smoothies. You can screenshot these, you can start making these. And the design of these smoothies is they're made of more vegetable and less fruit. So they have predominantly green leafy veg. And we recommend at least 5 portions of green leafy veg to 2 portions of fruit is the standard ratio when we design our smoothie recipes. And greens from a plant is the plants take in carbon dioxide in the day and they give out oxygen in the presence of the sun, a process called photosynthesis, and chlorophyll is generated. And when we consume that oxygen that the plants and the leaves give out is then absorbed by the body. We oxidize the body and we therefore alkalize the body. And so we have about 5 different recipes that we can share with you, but these are 2 of the alkalizing ones. And if you want these in a higher resolution version, whether or not you're doing the challenge, I'm more than happy to send these to you to implement them in your daily lifestyle. So please do message me and I'll get these over to you if you want high resolution versions of these. And then how do you trigger fat burn? Now, are you somebody who's been exercising for a while, you're doing stuff, but your fat isn't reducing? You're probably missing 3 key things that trigger a phenomenal biochemical process in your body called thermogenesis. Thermogenesis is, as the name suggests, thermo meaning heat, and genesis means to generate or create, is your body can generate heat internally from stored energy, which is the breakdown of fat cells. And you have to exercise to a level of intensity that brings about 3 things: breathlessness, you break sweat, and you have to raise your heart rate to somewhere between 60 to 90 or oscillate between that range. A sweet spot, we say, is aim for 70% of your maximum heart rate. But what is your maximum heart rate? How do you know? So the formula is there, but we do it a bit more calculated on the challenge. It's one of the assignments. You calculate your max heart rate. You know what that number is. You can buy a Fitbit or a very simple, you can buy them right now in any of these stores. There's some simple Chinese versions that we can get for like $10 to $20, as cheap as that. And they will measure your pulse as you're on the move. They tell you what heart rate you've reached, and you know if you've actually triggered fat burn. This is a 7-minute version to raise your heart rate to that number. In 7 minutes, if you did these 7 exercises, 40 seconds of jumping jacks with a 20-second rest, 40 seconds of push-ups, 20-second rest, 40 seconds of lunges, and so on, in 7 minutes, you will push your heart rate to about 60 or 70% of your max heart rate. Now, you can do this as a workout first thing in the morning, or you can do 3 rounds of this first thing in the morning. Again, if you can screenshot this. If you want high resolution version of this, you can message me and I'll send it to you. But doing this allows you to trigger and raise that heart rate, and therefore trigger thermogenesis. And then finally, I'm about to wrap up today's session, guys. So thanks for your patience and thanks for being on. We are a big part of how our program works. This is that doctor I said who lost 53 pounds. A big part of the psychology that we recommend. It is not mandatory, it is not a must, but we do recommend that you share your journey. Whether you tell 10 people of your friends and family to say, hey guys, I'm doing this thing called the FitBanker Challenge. This is my day 1 photo. I'm going to go through this journey. Hold me accountable. The more you share, the more you're likely to perform at that heightened level. The more people around you know that you're working on your health, the more you're likely to get support rather than people laughing at you. There's an African proverb: if you want to go fast, go alone, but if you want to go far, go together. And so a big part of our FitBanker culture, you will see this when you meet the coaches and you meet your other teammates, is people will be encouraging you. They'll be sharing, this is my smoothie that I had today. Here's my 6-kilometer walk. And if any of you are connected to me on social media, you'll see that I share what I eat, what I drink, how much I walk. If I do a cold dip in the river, you will see it, right? I share that there. But it has me be more consistent because I've created a false environment or a real environment for me, which is not really people watching me, but through virtual world, people are seeing me in action. So I have to uphold myself to a certain level. And today, this is my business. And today I have a livelihood from this after being a chartered accountant and a chartered financial analyst and an investment banker. I get to do this. I get to do what I love for a living. And I worry less about what others think because this is, supports me and my family. So this is what's possible once we give fewer F's about what people think about our life and our lifestyle and our habits. And so there's a lot of emotional and mindset stuff that we work on. One of the things we talk about in the FitBanker Challenge is each of you who is a performer, each of you have a self-sabotage mechanism. And that self-sabotage mechanism is it will remove you from your peak performance. Some of us, it happens in the area of money. When we're making a lot of money, suddenly we get quite spendthrift and we blow it all up very quickly. When our relationships are going good, we seek temptation somewhere or we get into an argument in our relationship. In the area of health, it's the same thing. When you've burnt 500 calories, you think you're doing really well. You're like, that blueberry muffin and that ice cream looks really amazing today. I'm going for it. And that self-sabotage mechanism kicks in. And what we teach you on the program is how to catch it, how not to fall for that, and how to get back on course. So that's why you have a weekly conversation with the coach, you have weekly webinars, and you have on Friday night, we do what's called a Friday night surgery. I'm going to talk a bit about that in the next few slides. But anyway, what I've shared with you so far, guys, is we looked at your inspiration. I've shared with you a lot of information, knowledge, and wisdom about what works and what actually I've gone through that has made a difference and what we factually use on our program. Literally everything that's shared is what we apply on the FitBanker Challenge. Now, why am I giving it to you away anyway for free on today's webinar? The reason I'm giving it to you for free is because the knowledge doesn't make a difference. The information alone doesn't make the difference. It's the implementation. And that's what the FitBanker Challenge is. That's what a coach is. That's what a coaching structure is. So belonging and being part of a structure, an implementation structure. Aristotle has this beautiful quote called, we are what we repeatedly do. Excellence then is not an act, but a habit. Welcome, Welwa. Just to acknowledge, we started a while back, but this is recorded. And so thanks for joining now, but I will stay on and I will still share the recording with you if you'd like to watch it after this. But welcome and thanks for joining. So starting anything is easy. It's easy to be inspired today and sign up, but what will cause the results for you is when you show up on the program, when you attend the webinars, when you attend your coaching calls, when you complete your actions and record your walks and eat according to the meal plan. That is what is going to cause results. Any questions so far before I go into what the challenge entails? And welcome, Malwa. Why can't healthy eating also be tasty? Vegetable smoothie. It tastes good when you add your protein powders to it, Bazant. I promise you. We love them. Our kids love them. People are surprised. And all it is we've just been conditioned. My 4-year-old has been having our smoothies from when he's been like 12 months. From the moment he got off breast milk, he's been having our smoothies. And he has it now. And, you know, that's why at 3, I have confidence in his immunity and resilience to go up Mount Kilimanjaro. But it's definitely something that we all can recondition to. Yeah, the pricing, I'm going to come to that in a second. If there are any questions, guys, feel free to come off mute. You have an unmute button and feel free to come on camera if you have any questions you want to ask. I'm going to talk very quickly about what happens when you sign up. So if you guys choose to join the program, which I would love you to, it starts on 26 July. And it starts on 26 July, but if you are signing up now early, there's obviously a benefit to signing up early, which is the price. And there are 10 webinars like this, just like you're joining on this, they will be live. And if for whatever reason there's some tech issue, we will send you a recorded version. We provide you with we conduct a body type assessment right from when you sign up. You get a questionnaire after signing up. And in that questionnaire, you answer some questions and about your physique, your appearance, your sleep patterns, your mindset, and we'll know your body type according to Eastern science called Ayurveda and Western science of bodybuilding. Knowing your body type, we will know how your metabolism will react or respond to certain nutrition. We then provide you with meal plan ideas. Now, there's a question around these are tailored based on factoring in your body type, factoring in your goals, whether it's weight loss, weight maintain, or weight gain, and factoring in the training plans, factor in also your gender, of course. So the training programs we provide you that you can use in the gym or outdoors or even at home, especially in this world of lockdown. Right now, I've been training at home. The gyms are locked down here, and we still get to the peak of our health. So this is an example of the lunch meal plan. So you get 5 options like this. You can have a look at what's written there and what some of the options are that you're having. And this is something that you can have, and we'll give you options for supper, for breakfast, and snack times in between. So you get about a 6 to 7 page meal plan booklet. You also get some other nutrition essential guidance. You get other PDFs that are there for your training programs and so on. And any questions, you bring them onto your coach, you bring them onto a webinar, you bring them onto a Friday night surgery, and you can ask me. So the challenge includes an online Facebook community. There's a Facebook group called FitBanker Campus. You join that only after you've signed up. There's a group coach you'll be assigned and a WhatsApp group you'll be part of. There is like I say, there's a bonus of Friday night surgeries where you get live Q&A and coaching with me every Friday at 7 p.m. UK time, 8 p.m. Zambia time. During lockdown, we introduced, like I said, the free workouts on Zoom daily. But workouts, physical exercise, is only 20% of what makes the difference. If your nutrition is bad, you can forget the workouts. You'll just be burning energy and reconsuming it like that. And so The workouts are open and free to anyone. For those that joined late, you're still welcome to join those. And you can message me and I'll add you to the WhatsApp group for the FitBanker workouts. Yes, you can get your children involved. Especially if you're doing it with your child. Your child is 12 years old. We've had a 13-year-old as the youngest who's done this. But we do recommend with children that they do it with their parents. And the reason we say that is sometimes children might misinterpret what we're coaching, in the sense that they might form issues or beliefs around body and body image, and could form eating disorders if they misinterpret something. So we don't want them to do that. This is not a weight loss program. This is about an optimal health program. So we want to teach them optimal nutrition. We want to teach them optimal training. And for kids, this would help them in their athletics. This would help them in their strength. This would help them in their self-confidence. We do recommend they do it with the parent, so that you're both together on the webinar. You're ensuring they show up. You know, you'll be the person the coach will go to more, rather than going directly to call your child. Especially, again, depends whether they have their own phone and whatnot. But we do recommend, if you do it with the child, that they do it with you. But they will get a separate plan, and they may get a separate coach, and they'll be part of a separate team, because they might want to freely express something they're dealing with that they don't want to tell mommy and daddy. Well, who do you get to be after your transformation? I shared some results earlier, but this is somebody who was pre-diabetic. She took on the challenge. She lost 14.5 kg, and she went on to reverse her diabetes, and she had a boost in confidence, and she worked as a phlebotomist in a lab. She quit her job, and she now worked as a real estate agent. She's now a realtor in Virginia in US. This is somebody who was struggling with fertility. She had their firstborn through IVF. They were told they can't conceive naturally. She went for IVF for the secondborn. They said, I'm sorry, we won't start the process till you lose about 10 kg. She tried everything for a year. She lost 3 kg, went back to the clinic. They said, sorry, we're not going to start the process with you. She reaches out to us, and by week 10 of a program, 10 weeks into the program, she had lost 8 kg. She was given the go-ahead to start her IVF. By end of the program, she lost about 11 or 12 kg. They only wanted baby number 2, but as luck would have it, and as God's blessings would have it, she ended up getting twins. So she ended up going from 1 to 3 babies. She's in Lusaka. I was in UK at the time. I flew down to interview her and do a video interview with her and the kids, and the 3 kids. And because they told they could never conceive naturally, they kept doing what they do after hours or whenever they get time. And they got pregnant again. And we didn't know it at the time, but when her twins were 5 months old, she was already 3 months pregnant with number 4. So she went from 1 to 4 babies in a window of 20 months, faster than a BMW. That's what's possible. And then there's this guy, Jagdish. He's 73. He's diabetic. He's on 4 metformins a day. His insulin doesn't work, and he's overweight, and he has a high visceral fat, 21% visceral fat. Visceral fat is the amount of fat that layers your organs, and he has a rating of 21, very high and dangerous. If you've heard of the term called skinny fat, you might not look excessively obese, but you might have a lot of fat that is around your organs, like your heart, like your intestines, like your liver, and that means they can't work optimally. They can't pump and function normally. So they're constricted by the amount of fat that layers it. This is why we see a player like Ericsson collapse on a field, or we had a player earlier on in the English Premier League fall on the pitch, because they have a cardiac arrest because there's an amount of other bad fat either inside their arteries or around their organs that inhibits or limits optimal functionality. This guy has now reduced his medication. He is active. He joins those daily workouts. On Tuesday and Thursday, we have it for beginners and elderly, but everyone's welcome to the Tuesday and Thursday. I run those. I run the Monday morning ones, and we have other coaches that do yoga workouts. They do dance workouts. They do other kinds of HIIT. So that's all in the workouts chat. Then this is the lady. She's, I think she's Slovenian, and she did our program. She's lost 18.8 kg in 90 days. This is the new female record holder. We have a new male record holder whose image I don't have here, but I shared it with some of you. He lost 25 kg in 90 days. So she's a classic example. She's now on her second challenge. So after the first 90 days, you have an option to do the program again, but you pay like a quarter the price to continue the program, to review it again. So it's about £200 to do the program, £210 to do the program again. That said, that's what we offer. That's the FitBanker Challenge. Nobody ever wrote down a plan to be fat, overweight, and unwell, but that's what does happen when you don't belong to a plan, when you don't belong to a program. And so, as mentioned, you asked about the price. I would do one-to-one coaching, but I don't do that now. I'm now talking today about the group program, and the group program works much better when I'm coaching many at once. And we have coaches, and we have different people that run different modules of our program. We have a team. We have 45 coaches in our body. The full price of the program is $1,299. It works out to £100 a week. But if you guys are joining now, it is at the mega early bird price. There is a limited number of those, and those are at less than half price, which is $497. The next program starts on 26th July, and I would invite you to be on. And once those tier of tickets are gone, the next ticket price up is $697. Still close to half price, and still a good deal. But if you delay, that's what you will pay. And the link to sign up is fitbanker.com/go. And yeah, if I shared anyone with any of you, Zahir, you're saying, do you have a payment plan? I don't, but Wahida, if you tell me how you found out about the program, and if there was somebody that invited you, introduced you to this, if it is one of our coaches, then maybe I could arrange something. But actually for the early bird, we don't offer a payment plan, but for the other packages we could. But if you can get hold of me, anyone that wants to chat with me, I'm going to give you my WhatsApp number on the chat. So please save it before the webinar ends. And you can message me on WhatsApp if you would like to speak, and we can arrange that. Any questions so far, guys? That is the end of today's session, and this is the point at which I'd love to invite you guys to join. My former schoolmates, I am a big stand that you guys and that we all grow together and healthily through this journey, and we all get connected to how important and relevant our health and well-being is. Has anyone got any questions around the program? Feel free to unmute yourself and ask. Zanti, Salma, Lynette, any questions?
No question, just I think just excited. I want to get rid of some of the fat around my middle waist. This was not me. And I want to go back to being at least a body that I'm happy with.
Amazing. Lynette, let's do it. You're going to have that by Christmas.
I hope so.
You definitely will. So like I said, the link to sign up is this, and it's fitbanker.com/go. So please do go there. And Zanti says, excited. All right, awesome. Excited to have you on, Zanti. That would be awesome. And then we can form a nice Kitwe walking club. And then who knows, we can have certain cafes which are known as the go-to health spaces in this place, and we can transform a town. For those of you that are Kitwe based, Zanti, and I'm assuming Salma is your sister, if it is the Salma. But those of you that are Kitwe based will know Honeydew and Pistachio Cafe. And those are the lovely ladies who are the founders of that place. Ah, lovely. So it is you. Welcome, Salma. Lovely to connect. And thank you for the pro bono ice cream that we've got from your place. My second born took his first steps in Pistachio Cafe. So we'll remember that. Okay. So that's it, guys. It is a wrap. Anyone that has any questions, please feel free to ask. But before you go, I want to leave you, thanks to Sewe, I want to leave you guys with this beautiful quote. And I really want you guys to get connected to beautiful words by the Dalai Lama. When asked what surprised him most about humanity, the Dalai Lama answered, man, because he sacrifices his health in order to make money. Then he sacrifices money to recuperate his health. And then he's so anxious about the future that he does not enjoy the present, the result being that he does not live in the present or the future. He lives as if he's never going to die, and then dies having never really lived. So on that note, guys, it is a wrap. Thanks everyone for being on. I'm now going to wrap up today's session. And anyone that wants to be added to the FitBanker workouts WhatsApp group, please let me know. And if I have your number, I'll add you then. If I don't have your number, then please do please do put it on the chat. And thanks again for being on. All right, guys, thanks all for being on. Have an amazing evening. And anyone that wants to discuss signing up, or if you have any issues or struggle signing up, message me and I'll send you the details on how to go through the sign up process. Okie dokes, guys, thanks again and bye for now. Good night, everyone. Thanks all.
Thank you. Bye.
Thanks. Bye.
Thank
Thanks
you.
for joining in, guys.
Bye.
Thank you so much. Really appreciate it.
Thank you.